What's your view? What's your view? What's your view? What's your view podcast?
Welcome to the What's Your View podcast with Olu Dolapo. This podcast was created as a space for real people with real life experiences that most people can relate to and learn from. Have a great time listening.
Hi everyone, welcome back to What's Your View with Olu Dolapo. And today I have with me Coach Wale. And in this episode we'll be talking about building a positive self-esteem in the face of uncertainty and adversity, right? And it's primarily because we realize that when we go through different life challenges, there's the probability of losing the essence of who you are in regards to your self-esteem and your attitude. So we just want to walk us through certain things we can do to curb losing your attitude or losing your self-esteem in the face of uncertainty and adversity. I mean, nobody has gone through life before, right? It's just our first time, everybody. So when things happen, we have to know how to handle them. And another thing is really cannot define how somebody will go through life, right? Or go through difficult time. Yeah. So that's why we just want to have a conversation in regards to this. So meet Coach Wale.
Hi. Well done. Thank you so much, Dolapo, for having me here.
You're welcome, sir.
It's always a very, very, very good and awesome time anytime you call on me. And I want to appreciate you for putting this platform. No doubt, this platform has been of help to so many people. And I feel so privileged to also be doing this today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so the first thing we'll be talking about is reliance theory. And I read that reliance theory refers to the ideas surrounding how people are affected by whatever they are going through and how they adapt to the thing, right? So let's say, for instance, there is a loss of a loved one, and maybe the only way the person could handle it is maybe by retreating, living, not necessarily isolation, but retreating, just being to yourself for a while till you put yourself together and you come out again. That's how some people handle that. It could be financial loss, and the way some people handle that is just also to retreat. Just some people can be that bad that they isolate, right? So let's talk about reliance theory in regards to a loss of any kind. Loss is a thing that will happen in one way or the other. It's just that the degree at which it happens to different people is different, right? So it's not necessarily the loss of a friend or a family or a relative or something, but loss in whatever capacity or whatever it could mean to anybody. So what's the best way to handle loss of any kind?
Fantastic. I would like to start with there is a quote that I read some time ago. It said that whatever you lose is gone. But the beauty is the fact that in the loss also is the potential for gain. You have to understand that in darkness is potential for light. As a matter of fact, the story of creation, as we were made to know in the Bible, is the fact that amidst the darkness, that was where light was called out of. So there is, for everyone that possibly, have lost money, have lost maybe a loved one, have lost, there are so many things that are tied to loss. And then, going through that process of grief, fine. The first thing is that you have to admit the fact that, yes, this thing is gone. Or this person is gone, or something has happened. Maybe by mistake or by something, my job, I lost my job. So at that point, is for you to first, you may have to grieve. You may have to sit down and come to yourself. You may have to, just have a way of saying about. But one of the things I used to say is we must see past our immediate. Life is purposeful. Life is purposeful. And what that means is that anything that you're going through currently, there's a purpose for it. I stumbled on something this morning that really shocked me. And that was someone that actually predicted yesterday when in 2015. And it was so detailed about the dates. December 18, 2022. You know, the amazing thing is that 2015, there was no World Cup 2018. Nobody predicted that COVID was coming. World Cup always hold between June and July. So how the guy predicted that December 18 was going to be the final of World Cup, to a layman, you are going to think, no, you must be out of your mind. What is going to change the calendar? How is it possible for World Cup to hold when leagues are on? You know, however, against all, you just notice that there is a purpose for this thing. There is someone at the back end that is working everything. And you just have to understand that. It helps you to come out of loss faster. Yes. And it gives you the energy needed to be able to move on. Secondly, when you can lose something, but make sure that you have the ability to take inventory of whatever it is that you have. You have people. You see, you must not lose sight of the fact that whatever you pay attention to will always increase. Whatever you don't pay attention to has a way of diminishing. So when it is a point of loss, it's a time to now pay attention to the things that you possess, to the people that surround you, the people that rally around you, the people that shows you love, the people that sit with you. You know, it helps in so many ways. So going through loss is a time of, no doubt, is a serious time, is a testing time. It can make or mar anybody. Yeah. However, it is very important to have a perspective that life is purposeful. That's number one. Secondly, take inventory of what you have gained over time. The people you have met, because it will help you to maximize going forward. The reason why some people could not come out of loss is possibly because of these two things. They felt that the loss of something is the end of their life. And before you know it, depression sets in. And then they give up on life. Secondly, they didn't take inventory of what they have. When you sit down well, you will notice that just permit me to use the word, street credibility alone is enough for you. There are so many babies that you have, even though you have lost one. There are so many babies that you didn't give birth to, but you know what? Those people, they run around you, they move around you, they want to spend time with you. They are the one calling. If you sit down carefully and take inventory of people in your life, you will understand that, you know what? Let me begin to come out and let me begin to focus on these people while I wait for what God will do.
Interesting. Thank you, Coach Wale. So the reason I came up with that question is because so there was a time we had a conversation, myself and some friends, and we were talking about we were talking about the things like insecurities we grew up with individually. And I realized most of my friends were talking about physical insecurities, like maybe they don't like the way their hand is, they don't like the way their legs, something like. But for me, I couldn't figure out any physical insecurity for myself, right? The only insecurity I could pick was the fact that losing my dad early in life affected my self-esteem, and I think that was the insecurity I grew up with. And so that's why I actually asked the question I asked, right? So in that, for people in this kind of position, maybe another instance is maybe these people are married, the husband lost his job, the wife has a job too also, but the husband lost his job. It affected his ego, quote unquote, and the wife starts taking responsibility for a lot of things in the home. And as much as he's not happy about it, he's putting an effort to catch up and all of this, but it's not just working out. How should people in this category, because these are not like physical, no. Yeah, so these are like things that are psychological, emotional, mental. How do such people build a positive self-esteem out of all of this? And another instance is, in fact, I think you gave an example one time when you were growing up with your brother and your dad preferred your brother because he could manage some things and you could. So how do people in this, because it's possible that such thing affects one's self-esteem or your perspective about who you are, how do I build a strong mental capacity, strong emotional attitude and capacity in this instance?
Thank you very much. That's a very, very fantastic question. I would say the first thing that you need to do is that you need to first go into the phase of awareness. You see, a lot of problems will be half solved if you can be aware of your current state, how you feel, yourself. Awareness starts any form of intelligence. There is no way you can increase your intelligence without the factor of awareness. There is no way you can help yourself. You want to develop a strong mental attitude. The first thing is that you need to be aware of your current situation. I've had time to sit down with people that are suffering from low self-esteem. I tell you the truth. One of the problems that I see, and it has become a pattern, one of the problems that I see is that they are not even aware. They are not even aware. They have a very competitive spirit. They want to bring everybody down so that they can come up, and they are not aware. So the first thing is that you have to be aware of yourself. How bad has this thing affected my mental state? You just have to know. So if you look at the fact that, there's a level of insecurity that we're growing up with, right from the time when we were young, and it sometimes leads to the low self-esteem or inferiority complex. One of the things I used to say is that you must come to terms with it, admit it. The power of awareness is the fact that you now have a strong weapon to fight, because you will fight it. You will need to fight your ability to match up, because let me make you understand what this will do. Building complex or complexities as a result of insecurity or low self-esteem due to the experiences that you have had in the past, it will affect your zeal, your passion, your effort to match up. You always want to match up with something. Yeah. You are always trying, and the first thing that it does is that it will affect your thinking. Every time you think, had it been I had a dad, I would have been better than this. What it means is that you're already thinking you are not good enough. That is what it means. Every time you think, what if I went to a good school? I know that currently I would have been a global player. I will have been moving from this place to another place. What you are trying to say is that I don't have it. So you have to be aware. The excuses we give, like somebody said that excuse is the explanation of failure. You just have to be aware that, oh no, wait. There's a power that I have that I'm giving out. There's something that I'm supposed to own that I'm lending to other people. And if care is not taken, I am going to live my life around it. Why do you think people feel, I just need to buy something to prove? Just to prove to people. Because you have to understand these complexities and why you just have to be aware of it. There are some people that they don't have business buying some things that they buy, spending so much, borrowing money to live an extravagant life. And the reason is because they're living complex life. Why? Because of insecurity. So you have somebody that because he lost a job, the wife is the one taking care of the home. You just have to understand it is a temporary occurrence. You don't, because of that, now feel that you are going to lose it at home. One of my best symptoms of low self-esteem is when you prioritize possession over contribution. Anytime you want to know if you have low self-esteem or not, just look at what you prioritize between possession and contribution. If all your attention is always on what I have, what I want to buy, what I possess, and then you don't look at the place of contribution, something is already wrong. So at the point that, okay, I'm not working currently, my wife is the one working and is the one paying, fantastic. Which other way can I contribute? Because the attention must always be on contribution. Do you understand? So you have a guy who graduated from Polytechnic, and for once he felt like, had it been I went to university, I would have been better than this. Why? I would have had more opportunities. Or had it been I went to private universities, or I went to university. I said, no, your attention is on possession. That, had it been I had a certificate that carried Harvard University. No, your attention should be on contribution. So for once, I didn't go to my university of choice. Why? Because maybe I didn't have money, my parents are not financial capacity, emotional capacity, even mental capacity. I didn't study the course of my choice. However, there's a power in me. I have what it takes to contribute at the little level. At the little level. So you have to pay your attention to contribution, not the possession. Possession is the fact that, I'm the husband of the house, I'm the man of the house. Now that I don't have a job, that means I'm losing my headship. No, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. You have to look at that angle. That, there's a thin line. I'm telling you the truth. There's a thin line between positive self-esteem and negative and low self-esteem. High self-esteem and low self-esteem. There's a thin line between the two. And the thin line between the two is what I'm telling you right now. Every time you have incessant patience, or you have impatience to be able to quickly say, no, there are people watching me. I want to meet up with them. I want them to see that, yes, I have what it takes. I'm trying to prove to them. Every time you are doing that, you're already running a complexity inside of you. Something is going on. There's a virus that is going on. So you just have to understand that there are some circles that you can't enter. Just admit it. You just have to admit it. Why? Because, see, when life happens to us, we must understand the implication of what happens. The implication of our experience are huge. As a person, I came to terms with myself around 2017 or 2018, and I told myself, of a truth, there are some people that I can't match up with. I'm not trying to say that I've given up on myself. But you know what? I'm not going to sacrifice my gradual success for the quick, let's have it, so that you can enter a circle of people. No, I don't live my life for a circle of people. And many times we are short-sighted. Why? We are created like that. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 10 years. We don't know. And like I said earlier, there is somebody at the back end. He's the one orchestrating things. If I'm meant to get to a particular level, I will have gotten there. You just have to understand, this thing is purposeful. This life that we are talking about is purposeful. So the fact that I don't have what it takes right now doesn't mean I won't have it. Some of the things that are happening to us currently are temporal. They are temporal. However, you can make it permanent by catching up with the complexity syndrome that makes you feel you don't match up, think you are not good enough, thinking you don't have what it takes again. You can imagine somebody that was sacked and he gave up on his life. I said the reason why I was sacked is because maybe they said I was the least performing staff, and so I had to go. And then because of that, you sat down and thought to yourself like, I don't think anything good can happen to me. No, that's not true. That's not true. You might actually be a fish out of water. If you sit down and carefully think about yourself, there is no way. Fishes are genius in water, but they are stupid and foolish outside of water. Yes, the genius in us come alive in our atmosphere, in our space. Look at it. What is that one thing that got you the job in the first place? It's the fact that you were studying a course that was given to you. It's not something that you even chose for yourself. I mean, I see a lot of people struggling academically, and then you are wondering, like, why are you struggling academically? Say it's because I'm not good enough. I said, that's not true. That's not true. When you check the process that got you into your department, you will understand why you are working. You just imagine that a fish was taken out of water and then was put in on land, and then you ask the fish said, the reason why I'm not moving right now is because I'm not good enough. No, that's not true. That's not true. You have to put me in the right atmosphere, and nobody will put you in that atmosphere until you are aware. You discover yourself. You become so aware of yourself. I was sacked in the job, possibly because I was not cut out for it. If you put me in another industry, I'm going to do so well. Maybe the industry is not even well pronounced now. But you know what? My genius will come alive, and then gradually, without trying to impress people, without trying to prove a point, I begin to move like that. I hope I've
You've actually portrayed. I mean, you've laid emphasis on this so much. Thank you, Coach Wale. This is not supposed to take a long time. I mean, so lastly, let's talk about. This is someone who is already building a positive self-esteem that grew up with a lot of backlash from life, from the realities of life. Let's say, for instance, grew up in a broken home, single parent, wasn't really close to either the father or the mother, was left to the streets for a long time. I mean, life really happened to the person, and the person is an adult, married, maybe with kids, and he noticed that he's still feeling insecure about certain things, maybe because of the residue of the things he experienced in the past. And this person is trying to be whole and also be there for his family and other people. In that process, how can such a person, even in the midst of he has to stand in as a father, he has to stand in as the husband, he has to stand maybe as the MD of his company, as friend to someone,
and
as some
the product of all those things.
So
that were was deprived of all those
so
things.
how, in the midst of all of this, let's say, for instance, even a minister in the church, maybe a co-minister or something, how can such person build? So the question is, how can such person build? I don't know if it's because at that point maybe it's not even a positive self-esteem again at that point, but something is missing somewhere. Because he still has the residue of all of these things he experienced in the past. He's in a place where he has to cover up for a lot of things, be the husband, be the father, be the MD in the company, be the minister in the church, be a friend to someone. He has his own life to live. But all of these things are maybe 5% from broken home, 10% from Kineko, from being left to the street for a long time. All of these things are still in him. How can he purge himself of all of these past experiences and be, quote unquote, a new man?
Fantastic.
Because I'm very sure there are people
in this category. Okay, so let me start by saying that naturally, as human, you have to understand that we have a processor inside of us, which is our mind.
Yeah.
But this mind does not respond to knowledge. Our mind processes knowledge, but it doesn't respond to it. Our mind responds primarily to our patterns. That is why you see a guy that smokes, and then he sees that smokers die young on the cigarette pack. Yet, he can process it. But you know what? He doesn't respond to it because we are all slaves to our patterns. The things that has happened to us over time, the things that we have done over time, the things that we do repeatedly, and these things are becoming so strong. You know, I love the way, I think it was Stephen Covey or one of these guys, the way he put it and says that when you check a broom, it becomes very difficult to cut a broom, to bring it and bring it into. And why? Because there has been layers of strands, and then there is something binds it together to make it very, very strong. Said if you took one of the strand, he said you can cut it without strength. He said that's the way the mind works. Every time we are talking about behavioral issues, because I believe that what we are handling right now is behavioral issues. So how will this person, how will they come out of this? First, he needs to understand that what took me 20 years will not take me 20 minutes. No matter the knowledge that I get, no matter what I've read, no matter, it's not going to go. So that's the first thing. Secondly, the place of emotional intelligence. Dolapo, I don't know if you're going to allow me, just give me a few minutes to be able to talk about this emotional intelligence. Because that emotional intelligence also is becoming a very pronounced word right now. Everybody uses it, and I'm always afraid of words that people use the most. The more attention people pay to a particular kind of word or concept, the less lesson that we are going to get from it. Just like we have used leadership, and the one problem that we keep having right now is still leadership problem. So, but when we talk about emotional intelligence, because that is one thing that I know that helps people to be able to bring themselves out of whatever it is that they have been enslaved to, either self-esteem, identity, or anything. Emotional intelligence helps. And when we talk about emotional intelligence is how you marry what goes on in your head to what goes on in your heart. It is the marriage of your head and your heart. It is the marriage of the serial process and your parallel processor. Yeah. In your brain is your processor. However, but there are two compartments to that. There is what I call the serial processing. Now, this serial processing is where you add 1 plus 1 together to become 1, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 3, where you add things together. This compartment is where you go for exam and pass. This processor is the one that explains how you know how to put things together. You get to your room, it's organized. You get to your place. This is what makes you go to work and deliver on the job. However, that is not the only compartment of your processor. The other processor is the parallel processor. And that is how you see that some people are very excellent in their career. They are doing so well. They can name it. They can do whatever it is that the society is expecting from them. They are doing it well. But when you check their personal life, when you check the way they deal with people, when you check the way things happen, you discover that they are lacking. They are lacking. Why? Because majority of their processing has been done in the serial compartment. They apply their life in a serial way. However, the parallel processor is not empowered. That's why you see a professor who has read everything, possibly maybe a renowned professor in Africa or globally, and then he sleeps with house help. Then you wonder, how manage with this kind of head that you have? That is why you can also see a professor that keep malice. Why? Because in the serial processor, if care is not taken, you can apply that to everything about life. So let me give you a perfect example. This morning you called me. I did not pick your call. You met me, possibly we are working together. You met me at the office and I was in a rush for something. You just greeted me, good morning. I said, I'm coming. And then I left. Then later also something happened. We were in the meeting and then you raised a point and immediately I gave a counter motion. If you add these three events together, what does that mean? It means that I'm against you, am I right? Mm-hmm. And the reason why you conclude is because your serial processor is the one in place. Mm-hmm. Your serial processor is the one that had 1 plus 1. So you just added all the events together. I called him, he didn't pick. I greeted him. We're meeting again. He came against me.
Something must be wrong.
So immediately your action was different. Unknowing to you that possibly when you called me in the morning, I was possibly doing something, and so my phone was not with me. Because of the urgency of what I had to do in the morning when you came, I couldn't release it. And then because of the topic that we are handling in the board meeting, I have to just give my mind, and based on my personality, what makes you go on and still be my friend and we are still on a good term after that day is if your parallel processor is working. Because parallel processor is what differentiates the events and give what we call benefit of doubt. We see this thing play out between husband and wife. And a lot of people say, my wife is the problem. My wife is the problem. You can imagine this morning, she always waits for me to greet her first. It's supposed to be, I'm the head of the house. You know what happens? You are putting everything, you are combining a lot of things together. This was what my dad did to my mom, and I didn't like it. Immediately, you had it together. This was how it started. This was how it started. Emotionally intelligent people that want to come out of, unnecessary slavery that was due to experiences must understand, separate the events. A lot of people say, oh, it's generational prints. Generational pattern happens because we have people who didn't understand this on time and work against it. Very, very important. So when we talk about, coming out to be able to help yourself based on what you have felt, and then you have a lot of roles right now, it is in the place of serious and massive emotional intelligence that you are going to bring that up. First, you have to be very, very aware. Just like I said earlier, awareness is very important, and that is what starts emotional intelligence. But that's not all. The second thing is regulation. You need self-regulation. When I say self-regulation, I mean you need to get to a point where you can tell yourself it is time to stop now. You see, personally, I'm a very practical person. When my wife do something and I feel hot or I feel like, we can go for 20 minutes without talking to ourselves. I just feel I don't want to talk to her. But the truth about it is that regulation, I'm quick to calm down, to be able to say, no. I don't want this now. What's the meaning? I can as well allow that to go on. I can decide that if she didn't come and beg me, I will not apologize to. But self-regulation makes me come to terms to be able to tell myself, yes, this same thing I'm talking about happens to me many times. When I sit down in my study, I have a study in my house, and the truth about it, I can be in that study for 6 hours. I won't step out. But I soon discovered that my children has a code. Once I see that my children are knocking on the door, it means, Daddy, it is time. You have been in this place for a long time. Before, you know what I do? I will lock the door. I will lock it. So my children will not have access. My wife, and I didn't know those things were actually getting to my wife. Because tell me, how are we going to be in the home and you are locking the door because I don't want to be disturbed? Until I came to the reality that, hey, guy, this thing you are doing, you are setting yourself up. You are really setting yourself up. So, you know what I do? A rule of thumb in my house. Once I sit down in my study for 1 hour, even if they are not around, I stand up. I'll go there, spend another 10 minutes with them, see that I see to what they are doing, whatever it is, anybody. If I'm not with the children and my wife, after I'm done, I go back. What happened? Regulation. Regulation has a lot. You just wonder, there are times when as a person you wake up and you don't feel like going to work. You just look at everything and you wonder, like, why is my life like this? What's going on? I didn't bargain for all this. This pressure is too much for me. This thing is too big for me. I can't do this. However, you will be shocked that with regulation, you help yourself to come out. You just understand. That's why it's called self-regulation. It's not someone that is coming to activate it in you now. You are the one. I love a part of the Bible when David's property was taken before he came back, and they said that the people that followed him wanted to. He said he encouraged himself. It's regulation. He cried. Yes, cried. Express your anger.
He even said, my soul.
You understand? Express your anger. Express yourself. However, you must get to the point where you yourself, you can tell yourself, why do people just lose it? Why do people go into depression? It started from thoughts. There were thoughts of toxic thoughts that were coming in. And then the more it was coming, the more you were receiving it. There was no point where you needed to reject it. You just as, this is love. I'm not taking that any longer. So that's regulation. The third one is empathy. Empathy. Remove empathy, we are animals. The difference between human being and animal is empathy. Empathy means putting yourself in the shoe of other people. I'm telling you the truth. One day I nearly shouted at my daughter, but I just remembered, if you were the girl and she's the father and you are shouting, how will you feel? The day you begin to enter people's feeling and you begin to notice how you just begin to put yourself in the shoe and the condition, is the day you just understand. I know you are pressured. I know you have a lot of roles to fill. I know you have a lot of it, but can you just come into the shoe of other people and put yourself in it? You need see, this is what John was talking about in the Bible. When he said, I don't know how somebody will say he loved God and he didn't love another person. I don't know how somebody can say, oh, I'm so good, I'm so gifted. All I want to do now is focus on God. But you have issue with another guy. It's empathy. So, to be able to undo all the problem that has been going on before, the bags and the baggages that you picked from the fact that your childhood experiences, your adult experience, and as you are growing up, even what you are still experiencing currently, and then combined with the roles that you feel, plenty roles that you feel, to be able to balance and to be able to come out of it as someone that is really complete and good, you must have the factor of emotional intelligence, and you must pay attention to this thing at the self level. I won't talk about the remaining two because that's external. But if you fix the first three, I believe that you'll fix it.
Actually, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So, finally, from my end, I would just like to say that overcoming insecurity and building up your self-esteem will not happen overnight. Right. So try to be kind to yourself during this process, and don't get discouraged if things aren't improving as fast as you like them to. And even if you don't feel confident today, the small baby steps you are taking now will eventually grow into bigger steps over time. So thank you so much, Coach Ali, for this privilege.
It's always my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to What's Your View with Olu Dolapo. Trust you had a great time listening. Feel free to share, like, and leave a comment. You could also reach out to us on Instagram at What's Your View with _Olu Dolapo. Thank you once again for listening.